Hello again, everybody. This is James Bartley, and you're watching and listening to the Cosmic Switchboard Show. And we've got Judith Kwoba once again, our dear friend from Germany. Judith is here to give us an update on what's going on in Europe and in Germany, and to give us her insight on a lot of things. So, without any further ado, Judith, welcome back to the Cosmic Switchboard Show.
Yeah, thank you so much, James, for having me again. Yeah, really interesting times. Let me just allow me to say a few sentences about my channel. It is on private again, and it will not come back until March. And honestly, I'm thinking about leaving YouTube for good. There are reasons apart from the censorship. They just recently terminated a channel, and the reason was constant harassment of minor attracted people. So now we have reached that point, and I honestly, I have to say, what are we still doing here? Yeah. If that is the case now, that those people need to be protected instead of the children, I find that very disturbing. So I have 3 months to think back and forth about this. But yeah, so now you will find me on Odyssey and BitChute.
That's great. We've also got Odyssey and Rumble as our other platforms. And you're right, it's appalling how they've turned these predators into a protected species, and soon they'll make it illegal to even criticize them because it'll be considered hate speech.
Yeah, so Europe. On Monday morning, 6 o'clock, we almost had a blackout for the entirety of Europe. And even our beloved friend Ursula von der Leyen from the EU Commission, she sounded the alarm, although, you know, the dramatic drop of the entire European frequency in the grid. In Europe, it is 50 hertz. I guess United States is 60 hertz. So, and it dropped, and it was almost like 0.1 percentage more, and it would have been it. Yeah. So you could say it was really astonishing that it didn't happen. It was, as I said, off camera, it wasn't short of a miracle, but yeah, so we had a lot of luck in a very stupid surrounding. And yeah, so our energy ministry announced that because we do have a cold winter, yeah, they were all hoping for a milder winter like last year, but that does not seem to happen. Right now it is -8 degrees Celsius, and so the gas storages are being emptied at an ever faster pace, because there is no wind. Right now, there's not a lot of sun. Yeah, so on the windmills and the solar power grid doesn't do much right now.
Solar panels, yeah.
Yeah, the solar panels, exactly. And so now what they have to do is use the gas to produce electricity. And France still has the problem that a lot of their nuclear plants, yeah, let's face it, they weren't maintained properly. Yeah, they have a couple, they are back on now, but it is still not the capacity that they used to have. So yeah, the gas storage will last for less than 2 months. And that is right in the middle of winter. Yeah, maybe 6 weeks or something. But if not something dramatically happens, yeah, within these 6 weeks to stabilize the electricity grid, yeah, I don't know. Then I guess Germany will see a blackout. Certainly brownouts, yeah, controlled. Yeah, what do they say? Load shedding. Yeah, so that entire areas are cut off the grid. And that, of course, always backs the possibility that there will be problems if you try to get it back on a certain area. I have seen it in Ukraine. People there reported that some of them have never been off the grid, some areas. Other areas that were shut off at first, they have been shut off for quite a while now. And for some stupid reason, they can't get it back up again. And of course, all these brownouts always have a possibility that it turns into a total blackout. I just recently saw a schedule from South Africa. You get a schedule when you will have power or not. You get it for each day. And there it is common now that for 10 hours a day, you do not have electricity. Yeah, that is where we are heading, back to a third world country.
Which is exactly what these maniacal greenies want. They want us all to go back to this barbaric medieval state of existence. And even back then, the lords and the kings and the queens, they didn't want you chopping down their trees, right? They made it, in some places, a crime punishable by death for poaching and chopping down their trees for firewood. So now the greenies are getting their wish. They're shutting everything down, and we're just supposed to go along with it.
Yeah. And the situation with, I talked about last time that a lot of medicine is missing. That has been, oh my God, that has increased so much. And interestingly enough, you know what is missing? Medicine against strokes. Yeah, so stroke patients are now having a problem. Then some heart medicine is missing. And yeah, there's liquid syrup for children if they have high fevers. That is very hard to come by. Some pharmacies have started to mix their own potions again. But of course, you cannot produce everything that way. Yeah, some medicine requires a totally different backup system. Yeah, and not just the lab in the back door. Yeah, so that is the situation here, and funny enough, it's relatively calm. Yes, there are protests every week. Every week, media doesn't report on it, but yeah, we will see. And I guess right now people are focusing on Christmas, yeah, and yeah, they will probably give them the Christmas, and after that, all bets are off.
So I take it, are people trying to carry on as much as normal Christmas shopping and what have you?
Yeah, although, 1/3 of Germans reported, they always do these surveys. So 1/3 will not do any Christmas these days. They do not have the funds to buy presents. I mean, that is not the worst thing. Yeah, forget about Christmas. Yeah, who cares? The main thing is try to stay warm. Yeah. have some water reserves, which is very, very important, because if the grid really goes down, then usually after 24 hours, yeah, the water is gone as well. And you can carry on without food for quite a while, but especially with water, you have little children, after 24 hours, that's it. Yeah. So that would be a really good idea. And but as far as I know, you know how it is if you can trust the numbers, but they say that only 5% of the Germans are prepared. So now you know what that means. Total chaos.
I read somewhere recently that the German government was preparing for civil unrest and chaos, and that they were making preparations to deal with that. Have you heard anything more about that?
Yeah, they brought in the military with this. Yeah, so in case of major riots, the military now will step in as well. But we will see, because those people, they have to crawl out of their dark and cold apartments and houses as well, and then go to clobber their fellow citizens. We will see how that turns out. Yeah. I'm not going to make any predictions, but there might come a point where even they ask themselves, what am I doing here?
Well, they'll have to leave their families to go and put down other people's families.
Yeah, to harass them. Yeah, why they are suffering the same consequences. Yeah, I mean, okay, you have always those that have such corpse-like obedience, that they will do anything. But among those, there are also those that probably at one point it will dawn on them, that what they are doing doesn't make sense. So we will see how that turns out. And now that the United States has introduced the idea, well, I guess they said they will do it, send Patriot missiles to the Ukraine. And now imagine a US Patriot missile will hit a Russian city. Let that sink in for a moment. And so what is your feeling? What might happen at that point?
Well, corporations like Raytheon have already got contractors over there helping to launch drone attacks into Russia. We already saw through that fake missile hoax. It wasn't fake for the two people that got killed, but clearly it was an anti-aircraft missile SA-3 that was sent from Ukraine to the west to Poland. So clearly it wasn't a Russian missile, but they were trying to escalate the situation. So clearly by bringing in all these forces and all this hardware, it's going to escalate it that much more. And Putin just announced in so many words, whereas in the past he was more tolerant and would have waited until his country was attacked with nuclear weapons before retaliating. He's saying now, because of all these provocations, because they're hemmed in on all sides, so many military forces from all different parts of the map surrounding Russia, essentially, that they have it within their right to, if they feel like they're going to be attacked with strategic forces, they will launch a first strike. So the things are pretty dodgy right now. The Ukrainian army is going to be destroyed. They will be destroyed as soon as the ground is hard enough, frozen solid, to allow the Russian army to move in. They will take over Ukraine, and they will push as far west as they need to create a buffer zone, depending on the range of the NATO American weaponry. Say if it's 300 kilometers of range of some of these missiles or rocket systems, and they will push that far to the west as a buffer zone, and it will be unconditional surrender. Zelensky and his ilk, if they're still there, they will be tried as war criminals, and they will be executed, and that'll be that. And whoever the new Ukrainian president will be, they will sign a peace treaty that will ensure that Ukraine will not be part of NATO, that they will have no territorial ambitions, that they will treat the Russian-speaking ethnic Russians fairly, and not persecute them, which was a big part of all this. This is, apples and oranges, but if you look at historical parallels, the ethnic Germans in the Danzig corridor, the ethnic Germans in Silesia who were being persecuted in the run-up to World War II, which was part of the grievances that the Germans legitimately had, right? And so they're going to make sure that when they move into Ukraine and take it over, they're going to go in with full force. There's no more holding back. There's no more, and there's already a stream, thousands, if not millions, of Ukrainians leaving, going to the west. So that's going to create even more hardship for the Europeans. For some reason, these Poles seem to be intent on wanting to escalate the war, which is bizarre to me. I don't know who they installed there as their puppets, but whoever they are, they're suicidal. So
the Poles right now have dreams of an empire.
Yes. Yes, they do. So by bringing in Patriot missiles, if they manage to shoot down a Russian aircraft, I don't like the way the direction it's going. People don't realize how close we are to an all-out war. It's very troubling. And when you look out in society, just the apathy and the indifference and the ignorance and the obliviousness of what's going on, in order to maintain my sanity, I can't just dwell on this all the time. But you look around and you know that it could all just go in an instant, right? So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's just me thinking out loud about just how iffy this whole situation is.
Yeah. Since I heard this news, I've been thinking about that back and forth. So here's one scenario that could go down. And I have to stress this. I'm not saying it will go down like this. We just try it on for size. So a Patriot missile lands in a Russian city. I don't think that Russia is interested in wearing itself out in a direct confrontation with the United States. So maybe Russia turns around and EMPs the United States, maybe in collaboration with China. Let's do a double whopper. That, of course, will take out Canada as well. I don't think that it will be that surgical, that it only affects the United States. Plus, it will solve another problem, because two of the strongest proponents for this agenda of the United States of Wokistan, the entire world has to be Wokistan. Problem solved, end of story, dead in the water. So now we never had a peace contract after the Second World War. We are practically still living in ceasefire. So now Russia turns around because Germany already announced to the world that they only have ammunition for 2 days. France came out recently, yay, we have ammunition for 4 days. And so then Russia will turn around and say, okay, boys and girls at the European Commission, what's it going to be? Are you ready to talk and we negotiate the terms and conditions of your surrender? Or the other way, you can have that as well. You will get your 4-day war. But in that case, there is nothing to negotiate. Then you will accept wholeheartedly the terms and conditions that we dictate to you. So what's it going to be, boys and girls? Because guess what? Your good buddies from across the pond, nobody's coming. And that is a scenario that might go down. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But that way, you know, Russia isn't in a long and draining confrontation with the United States and has conquered, by the way, just like that, the entirety of Europe. So now what? That, of course, will also mean all these plans that the United States had, you know, we destroy the competition from Europe. Their companies, yeah, okay, a lot of companies now, like BASF, they are going to China. Others are thinking about moving to the United States. No, 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 that's not going to happen. And I think that Russia, yes, you could argue, yeah, but they will trade with China, India, South Africa, whatever. But honestly, I don't think that Russia is interested in a Europe that is completely deindustrialized. And he knows that that is the agenda. He understands that the majority of the European people do not want these sanctions. They are not interested in that. He also knows that there are constant protests, whether the media reports about it or not, it doesn't matter. So, and he knows that the driving force really behind all this mess is the United States. So that would be a scenario where Russia can easily win on all fronts. As I said, I don't know if this will transpire. It's just a line of thought that I had, and Putin would turn everything around. What the United States is trying to do now to make Europe depending on their energy, yeah, guess what? You will have no energy because it will take a moment to restore that infrastructure that we just destroyed with an EMP. And Europe will be the one who has power, not you. Yeah, that is one scenario that might happen. We will see. But I find this decision to send Patriot missiles now to the Ukraine, I find that very, very disturbing.
We're dealing with this hubris, this arrogance on a scale we've never seen before, and it's coming from a military structure, NATO and the United States. It's a hollow military force. I don't think we've seen in certainly the recent past, but you go back quite a ways in history also, where a nation or a confederation of countries, which has already been hollowed out socially, industrially, economically, every which way, is pushing so hard for foreign imperialist wars. Usually when a country goes to war, often as not, they have a strong industrial base, they have a strong population of military volunteers. I just heard on another podcast that today in America, fully 70% of the so-called Generation Xers wouldn't even qualify for military service because they're unfit and they're mentally unsound and what have you. They've lived a soft life all this time and they're wholly unprepared for any kind of a crisis scenario. So you have this empty kind of shell that's trying to provoke all these wars. We've never seen anything like this before. A nation is defined as a nation if it can guard and defend its own borders. But the American border is an open gate, and thousands of immigrants are streaming into it. Everything that can be done possibly to destroy the infrastructure and the social cohesion of America is being done all across the board, and yet they want to have all these wars. It's such a weird, suicidal. There has to be some entities or something driving it, because from a human standpoint, it literally makes no sense. It only makes sense if you look at it from a nihilistic perspective, where due to the Malthusian depopulation mindset and the post-industrial world, Hunger Games world they want to create, yes, they want Europe to be in tatters. Now, the thing about it is, can they reduce Europe to like medieval serfdom, feudalism, without Putin, without a war? Yes, they can do that. It'll take a little longer, but they can do that. It seems like
at least as long all these woke people are running the show in Europe.
Yes. And this is not a slight against women at all, okay? But there was a picture I saw that spoke volumes about the mentality at work, this woke mentality. They had a photo of 4 defense ministers from Scandinavia, like Norway, Denmark, Belgium, and another country, and they were all women, right? Not a single male minister of war, defense minister for those countries. So everything in the West has been so subverted. What they did to Weimar Republic Germany, just make it all decadent and make it all weak, as a setting the stage for this totalitarianism, is what they've done throughout the whole West. And they think in their madness they can take this woke system and go against a unified country that's proud of its heritage, proud of its whiteness, proud of its history, right? It doesn't want anything to do with this woke crap they're trying to import over there. If I didn't see it happening in front of me, I would say, no, that's insanity. But it is insane. But from a human perspective, it's insane.
Yeah. And I think what many people forget is simply, because the European Union right now makes one dumb decision after another. I think Russians, they always see themselves as Europeans. Yeah. And that is what people forget. And I do not believe that Russia really has an interest in in a destroyed Europe. Yeah, the rest, there is Russia, and then the rest of Europe is destroyed. I think that Europe is much closer to the Russian heart than the United States is. Yeah, so that would be a scenario that would solve a lot of problems in a relatively short amount of time. How that will play out then in the end, if it comes to that, what the terms and conditions are, and if there is, one big Russian European nation at the end of the day. That is not something that I'm crazy about either. But I love the old Europe, yeah, the different cultures, the different languages, the different cuisines, the different types of music. And I always loved Europe because, you know, just a few kilometers and you had a totally different culture. Yeah, loved that. And now it's becoming this one soup. Yeah, and that is
Yes.
something.
And that's another factor also. Would Putin and his successors be interested in having to rebuild uh, this ruined, wrecked infrastructure, this woke culture of the European Union, flooded with immigrants from sub-Saharan Africa, from the Middle East, Near East, uh, Pakistan, etc. Would they be interested in having to put that all together? Would that be at the top of their priorities list when they've got
Mm,
their own issues to deal with? Because Europe is fast becoming a basket case, quite frankly.
yeah.
So are they going to want to put all that together? Is it in their interest to expend all these resources with the, so much immigration going on over there? The whole European structure, the whole European heritage has been flushed down the tubes because of this wokeism and this satanic Luciferian cult. Europe is almost unrecognizable now.
Mm,
So would the Russians think that, look, they could very well have an attitude where, well, it's not our problem. It's like, we didn't do this, right? We can give you a hand up, but we're not going to give you a handout, right?
yeah.
And I could see that happening. And by that point, the U.S. will have no say uh, in the matter whatsoever, because even if there was no larger escalation of the war, with the Saudis turning away from the petrodollar, that's huge. Uh, See, it seems to me that what they were doing in the final death throes of the Federal Reserve note, the dollar, the petrodollar, was by raising the interest rates, they were hoping to crash the European economy. And
Mm,
they were starting to cause a lot of capital flight to America by what they were doing. But what they've done with these BRICS nations is they had some foresight. They thought something like this might happen. They've set up their own system. The Chinese even are talking about a gold-backed currency, right? Eventually, they're going to go digital like everyone else. But the point being is the petrodollar, which held sway for so long, it is not going to hold sway anymore. It will have no more power. They cannot dictate, and no one's going to want petrodollars anymore, because petrodollars, after the Saudis give up on it, will no longer exist. Uh, the Russians are already only selling commodities in rubles nowadays to friendly nations that don't have sanctions on them. So, in their madness to create this expanding psychopathic war and destruction of all civilization, it seems to me they didn't think some of these things through,
mm,
because they're not. I don't think they're getting the results that they really want. They being these reptilian hybrid Luciferian psychopaths. Uh, Maybe they're just like in this frenzied berserk mode where they don't care how it really turns out, and if the world goes up in a flash, that's fine with them, because again, they don't think like us, right? But uh, this economy cannot sustain itself, and if the wars expand, the dollar is going to die that much sooner, and we're going to see all kinds of mass panic in the West.
yeah. And that is one of the big grievances that a lot of people here have. And I'm not only talking about Germany, yeah, in general here in the EU, that people have the feeling that these politicians are totally detached from reality. And it appears that nobody feels any obligation to serve the people. Yeah, it's just my agenda, my ideology, and I will fight for my ideology tooth and nails, no matter what. Yeah, and if the entire country is going down the drain, so be it. So that is, there is such a rift. And have you seen that ridiculous so-called coup d'etat here in Germany?
No, I haven't. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay. Yeah, it was very close that some radical groups wanted to overthrow the German government. Yeah, an assembly of 25 retirees, and they had, BB guns and what do you call this? It's not bow and arrow. It works like that. It's an
Slingshot,
arm. No, not slingshot.
crossbow.
Yeah, crossbows. Yeah, they had crossbows, and really, most of it was and not even illegal weaponry. And now they are trying to tell us that these senior citizens with a couple of crossbows, and, they wanted to overthrow the government. And guess what? 3,000 policemen did the razzia. 3,000 for 25 people. But if there is chaos in Berlin where the Arab clans rule, no, police is not going there. No, that's too dangerous. But 25 senior citizens, oh yeah, we can definitely activate 3,000 policemen. Yeah, so and now they are using this, but even in the mainstream media, even parts of them said that was lame. That was really lame. Yeah, so they arrested those senior citizens, and big whoop. Germany's government has been overthrown almost, and there's no real evidence that they really planned it. It's just a narrative, and not even a very good one. But now they are using it. Now they want, because one of those arrested citizens was a former member of a political party here in Germany that is called AfD. And everybody is always screaming right-wingers and Nazi, the usual. So now they are trying to use this so-called attempt to overthrow the German government. We hear the first voices that they want to cancel the AfD, meaning legally make it impossible for them to run, and forbid them. And the other thing is, because there was one former member of AfD among those arrested, now they want to turn it around, first for people that work for the government, meaning if somebody accuses you of being a racist, a Nazi, or whatever, then now you have to prove that you are not the other way around. So meaning they turn everything upside down, and we know first they start with the government workers, and sooner or later it will be everybody. And so now, how would you go about that? Try to prove to me that you are not a racist. How are you going to do that?
We're seeing this all over the world in these nation states that are under the thrall of the globalists and New World Order. They're coming up with any excuse to demonize those who are aware, at least at some level, of this agenda, this depopulation, globalist agenda. Soon they're going to be going after Christians openly. I see that happening again, like when the Bolsheviks took over Russia and they just started burning down the churches and slaughtering Christians in mass. That's what they would love to do that to Russia now, because it's largely a Christian country. Like in America, after a sporting event and they're remotely interviewing some athlete and they're asking them, well, how did you do in the big game? And, tell us how you feel. When they start going off script and they start saying things like, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, right? What happens is, and I've seen videos of this, oh, we're having difficulty. Oh, we lost the signal. Okay. Yeah. So every time, some athlete breaks ranks and starts talking about Christianity, oh, we lost the signal. Right. So the point being is that they're just so openly hateful, whether someone's a Christian or not. Everyone has a right to practice and worship their own way, as long as they don't hurt others, indoctrinate, brainwash others, that's fine. But now they've clearly got their sights on everything of a traditional nature. And soon, like we were talking about at the outset, they're going to make these really evil perpetrators. They already have made them a protected species, and they're going to take it to another level. Some kind of false flag is going to happen where Christian right-wingers, conspiracy theorists, whatever, are going to be blamed for something, and it's going to result in the decriminalization / legalization of all these things that we take for granted as being abhorrent, evil, and they're just going to say, well, you criticize that, you're hate speech, you're a domestic terrorist, we're going to take you down, right? And it doesn't matter how evil it is, that whatever they're pushing, and if you stand up to it, because that's their nature, it's might makes right. So they think they can bully boy Russia the way they bully boy all their citizens, right? But that's two different things, but they have the same mentality because they're crazy, right? But Europe is a tinderbox, especially because of the large influx of immigrants who don't have the same values, who don't have the same mindset, understanding, and respect for other people's cultures, right? They're the ones that are intolerant. They're the ones that are the racist, right? They see white people in general as the infidel, right? All these jihadists. That's another thing that Putin said. We're not going to have Sharia in our country. If you come here, you're going to respect our culture. You're going to respect everything that we do. We're not going to change things for you, right? And you look at the UK now, so many city councils there. Everything is totally changed, right? And if you criticize it, you're a racist.
UK, they are now, white people are now the minority.
They're now the white minority, and they're openly changing the history of the UK, saying that this multicultural race or that first discovered England or Scotland. I mean, it's amazing what they're doing, and they're getting away with it because they put out this meme back in the day that communist, socialist, liberal Democrats, they're harmless. They're just cranks. They're just pinkos. They're nothing to worry about. No, they're genocidal maniacs is what they are. And now they're the ones that are running the show. They're Luciferian, like genocidal maniacs. They're running the show in the West, and they want to decimate their own populations, and they want to go to war against Russia and China. Everything about it is completely bizarre. I keep harping about that because it shows the essential non-human nature behind all this. There's no human logic or reason or empathy involved. It's just all madness. And they've normalized it now. They've made it seem like it's the gaslighting, Judith, where they're just constantly lying and making fun of the people at the same time, is through the roof now. It's like a comedy show when you turn the TV on now.
Yeah. And you probably remember the term, the long march through the institutions. Yeah, guess what? That march is over. Yeah, they have arrived, and now we are harvesting the fruits of that. Yeah, they have infiltrated all the institutions, and yeah, now they think whether you like it or not, you have to dance to my tune. And yeah, but even, even this will pass. Yeah, they will not win. At the end of the day, no. It will not be easy. There will be a lot of suffering, guaranteed. But at the end of the day, all their screwed up dreams will fall to dust.
I agree. It's, to use their term, it's not sustainable, right?
Yeah, yeah. It is not sustainable because, and that is why they have to crack down on free speech so hard. Yeah, and we see it all over the NATO countries. Yeah, they know exactly if we do not destroy that, we are being destroyed. They know that, and that is why they act like yeah, little children throwing a tantrum in the candy store. But even from experience, they should remember there are people, they will never shut up. Even if you threaten them with death, with prison, with whatever, they will not shut up. So I don't even know why they are trying.
Yeah, I agree. There's some people that will not give in.
Yeah.
The line has already been drawn, and they've already gone this far already. And we see the excess death all over the world. It can't be hidden anymore. And I think all these numbers that are coming out of the insurance companies, I think they're much lower than they really are. I think it's much higher, the incidence of all these excess deaths. That's another bizarre thing about this NATO empire, this NATO stand. It's the cream of the crop, the flower of their manhood has been effeminized and has been uh, so sickened by this system, and they think that they can use these soldiers, to fight in a major war. There's nothing about it that makes any sense. I mean, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's lunacy. So
Yeah.
yeah. So we reached the end of a fascinating discussion with dear friend Judith Kwoba. And anything you want to say before we take a short break and then go into the members section where we can really let it rip?
Yeah, no, I think so far I said where I am right now, and yeah, I'm fine. I'm good.
So my well, uh, to our dear listeners out there, if you like what we do, if you believe in what we do, please go to the cosmicswitchboard.com, sign up and become a member, and we'll see you at the top of the next segment.
Mm.